primary thing we want to kind of discuss today is I don't think troubleshooting is the right word, but like coming up with a more direct strategy for improving the SOTS press work.
Yeah.
Um, Anything else like really pressing that you want to touch on, like since we have the time for this call anyways?
I mean, honestly, I think it's kind of related to that, but just like I really feel like improving my external rotation and my shoulders would just like help with a lot of things,
Mhm.
whether it's, comfort in the snatch position, like overhead, front rack position, like just like yeah, doing sots press, like all of those things I feel like are somewhat limited by kind of external rotation of my shoulders. Like I've
Hmm.
noticed just even doing some of those side lying external rotation exercises that like when I get fatigued, even just like getting my arm past like parallel to the floor, is really hard for me. Like I can do
Hmm.
it for a couple of reps where I can maybe get it to like 135 degrees from the floor if I'm lucky, but then like after like the first couple of sets it just starts going lower and lower, and like even getting it to 90 degrees from the floor is hard.
Okay. All right, got it, man. So yeah, I mean, when it comes to improving mobility for like specific movements or specific lifts, um, I kind of take there's like two different approaches that you can use for. One is the more direct approach of really like training and modifying the target movement that we want to improve upon. So
Hmm.
basically using that movement as a way to improve mobility and like efficiency in those positions that you need for that movement. And
Yeah.
that's definitely where like I don't want to say a bulk, but like a greater portion of how I program mobility work is in
Hmm.
that like more direct style.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it's a little bit more like time efficient and you can kill multiple birds with one stone. So like how we do that is by kind of like manipulating or modifying things like the tempo of the movement that we do,
Hmm.
as well as like make some small positional tweaks. So, for example, for the Sots press, uh, for you especially being like a taller lifter, it's most likely going to be your like ankle flexibility that's going to be the single biggest kind of limiting factor in
Yeah.
that. But we
Yeah.
can tackle that by training the Sots press with
Hmm.
longer pauses in the bottom or top of the Sots press, but also
Yeah. Yeah.
by adjusting like the heel height. So
Yeah.
I'm assuming you do those with like your weightlifting shoes on, correct?
Yeah. 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 Yep.
Okay, cool. So one of kind of like the most efficient strategies I've used with a bunch of my other like weightlifters that we've tried to improve this movement on, is taking even like, do you have access to like smaller change plates that are
Oh
like
yeah. Yeah.
really
Definitely. Yep.
cool? So we can take change plates or even like a five or like a 1 kilo or 2.5 kilo plate or something that's like
Hmm.
a
Hmm.
smallish to medium height, um, prop your heels with the weightlifting shoes on top of that, because that
Right.
will give you a little bit more ankle dorsiflexion range to kind of
Hmm.
use. And you should be able to sink deeper into the squat, have a more upright torso position, and then be able to do the Sots press from
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
And then we can use that like uh, execution tweak and pair it with higher rep sets, pauses in the positions to really work on the ankle flexibility, but also the
Hmm.
overall flexibility for that movement all at the same
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
And then the key with that though is you want to choose like a heel wedge height that allows you to get to basically full depth for the Sots press. Um, but still have it be kind of challenging. You don't want to like raise your heels up on like a 2 inch like wedge and then have your
Yeah.
weightlifting
Yeah.
shoes on top and then be like super knees over toes, like not even trying to get into the position.
Right.
Um, so for most people, I'll start with like a 2.5 kilo height plate height and then kind of like work down in increments from there. So like 2.5 to like the next kind of smallest plate size you have, and then just like slowly work down as you find getting into that position and doing the movement being easier and easier over time. Um, does that kind of strategy make sense
Yeah. Yeah.
initially?
Yeah. For sure. Definitely.
Okay, cool. And then so that's like the kind of direct approach of improving mobility for a lift. And then the more indirect approach is like tackling or addressing the individual like flexibility limitations or like joint limitations that are probably like the biggest bottlenecks.
Right.
So
Yeah.
for you, like shoulder external rotation and maybe even like lat flexibility, because with the SOTS press, you're in a squat, so you do have to be like inclined forward a little bit,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
requires more shoulder range.
Yeah. Yep.
So working on that overhead flexibility in the shoulders and then really hammering the ankle flexibility, because if we can improve the ankle flexibility itself, that will allow everything else to be a lot easier. You'll be able to be more upright with your chest, which will make the impact on the shoulders a little bit less demanding, all that sort of stuff. Um, and for you, I was just checking over your program recently. We hadn't been doing at have not been doing as much ankle flexibility work, more so like kind of hip mobility for the direct
Mm-hmm.
low back stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and we've been using the single leg calf raises with like pauses in the bottoms
Mm-hmm.
as kind of like a dual purpose calf strength, calf hypertrophy, and
Yeah.
ankle
Yeah.
flexibility drill. So definitely want to keep those in because those serve multiple purposes, but
Mm-hmm.
then also add in some like direct ankle flexibility work spread throughout the week, probably a little bit of flexibility volume for the ankles and calves pretty much each training day. Um, Likely in your kind of like movement prep or warm up series. That way you have that direct ankle work, which will kind of remove that main bottleneck for the mobility of the lift. And then we can take advantage of the fact that we had that stuff early in the session. So your squats can be a little bit deeper. You can have a little bit more time in that position and
Right.
then layer in the direct SOTS press training on top of that. That's kind of like the overall structure that I kind of like envision for improving this movement for you. What are your thoughts on that sort of kind of like overall game plan?
Yeah, no, I think that makes sense. I mean, I just know from experience in the past trying to do them. Like, definitely the ankle mobility is like a challenge there to be able to get into the right position. But I
Hmm.
just know like that very first part of the movement of even just trying to like get it like off my whether it's front rack or back rack, but like just being even just in back squats, sometimes when I back squat, I get like a like if I especially if it's like long tempo work or just like a lot of volume or something like that. Sometimes I will almost get like a little bit crampy or twitchy, like kind of in the back of my shoulder a little bit, kind of
Hmm.
in some of that area of like those muscles that are responsible for external rotation, even just holding that position. So
Yeah.
just like being able to create more range of motion there, making that a little bit comfortable, I think would help with a lot of those things, like not just
Mhm.
SOTS press, but just like back squatting, front squatting, snap, like all really everything.
I just don't know. Yeah, for sure, man. When you front rack, do you keep like the full grip throughout, or do you like kind of let it roll on your fingertips, or what do you typically do for that? Oh, I think you got muted a little bit.
Yeah, so when I do front squats, I try to keep it like not all the way in my fingertips, but like it's definitely not like a full fist like palm grip. It's kind of
Hmm.
like it's like in my fingers, but not all the way in the fingertips. Um, so I try to just practice as much as I can, like holding it further back into my hand. But I'm
Hmm.
definitely not one of those people who can just like have a full grip on it and just like let it sit there. Like
Okay.
I wouldn't say the front rack is like terrible for me, but it definitely could be better.
Yeah, for sure.
Like
And
I've seen way worse in people that I've coached before, but it's just like it takes a little bit of while to warm up and get things moving.
yeah, totally fair. The external rotation flexibility side of things is probably the one of the main factors in like a really, really solid front rack position I've seen a lot of people. So we'll definitely layer in some like external rotation, overhead, flexibility work for the upper body in a little bit uh, higher volumes. For sure, add in more ankle flexibility work throughout the whole week, and then use that like execution tweak for the actual training of the SOTS press on top of that. And I
Okay.
think obviously this will be something that it'll take time to see like really good progress with this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, the way we can speed that up is obviously having a greater volume as far as like number of sets or like
Hmm.
time in the stretches or mobilizations for the like ankle, shoulders, all that. How has like the length of sessions been for you lately? Like, are you kind of like cutting it close with what you could do with your schedule, or do you have a little bit of time to like add in 5-ish, 10-ish minutes here and there for this sort of stuff?
I would say most days it's pretty tight.
Okay.
Trying to think. So certain days, Mondays have definitely been very tight for me.
Mhm.
The last couple weeks, I've also just had a lot of stuff going on at work, so sometimes I've been getting out a little bit later than I want to. And so Mondays have been like pretty tight consistently. I think Tuesday and Thursday are not as bad, and Saturday it's the weekend, so I don't really care if I'm there at the gym for 2 hours. Then I'm
Okay.
there for 2 hours, so that there's like less of a constraint there. I just try to keep it to about 90 minutes during the week, just so I at least have some time to myself at night, so I can like decompress a little bit and get ready for the next day.
Yeah, you
Um,
don't want to be in the gym until you like get home and go to bed.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I think, unless we kind of restructured things, like realistically, probably not a lot of room to like put stuff in on Monday, but
Hmm?
maybe Tuesday or Thursday if it was just like 5 to 10 minutes or something.
Yeah, I'll add in like 5, 10, probably more like 5-ish minutes of work on Tuesday and Thursday, and then we can have a little bit more dedicated to Sunday or Saturday, excuse me.
Okay.
And then we'll do that. And then I forget, are we having Sots press twice per week right now? Or do
Right
I forget
now,
that?
it's just once per
Just
week as
once.
part of like a warm up primer on Monday.
Okay. Then
Yeah,
what ideally what I would
it's like
do
a
then,
single arm dumbbell variation
yeah.
instead of like a barbell.
Right. So I think we'll keep in the single arm
Okay.
dumbbell because that makes it a little bit easier to work on the flexibility part of for the lower body of the Sots press because you
Hmm.
take out like the front rack and all that
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
from the
yeah,
movement. But then I would like to add in a barbell variation one on the day. That way we have like two exposures throughout the week, and that can
yeah.
also
Okay.
help speed things up a little bit too. Sound good?
Okay. Yeah, that sounds good.